Hello, welcome everyone again. We are in a new session of Canadian or Conversations with Canadians. And today we are with Ryan. Welcome, Ryan. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So Ryan is a father, entrepreneur, author, mentor, and veteran coach. He traveled and lived in 12 countries around the world. He was a combat commander with the Canadian Armed Forces, senior manager and instructor for the Canadian government, management consultant for Canada Visa in China. Your current occupation is onboarding specialist for startup visa services, and you're my business partner as well. And well, I can keep going. So you hold a master certificate in sales, marketing, specialized sales, merchandising, and marketing operations, master certificates in project management, and you obviously studied at the Royal Military College of Canada. And this was a senior leadership course. So I don't know if you want to add anything. You might have more experience.
No, it's great. Thank you.
That's quite a lot of experience, actually. So it's more than enough. If you agree with it, we just go ahead with the first question. We're going to be talking about the Canadian identity. And for people who doesn't know, you are Canadian born. So the first question, Ryan, is how do you get involved in the Canadian Armed Forces and why?
Sure. So I actually joined when I was in high school. I was 16 years old, and you really cannot even sign a contract till you're 18 in Canada. So my mommy had to sign for me. So it's kind of interesting how I had to do that. But yeah, I just joined. I thought it would be for the summer, and then ended up serving 18 and a half years for our Canadian government, which I love, right? I love helping, love supporting, and I believe in giving back to your country. I think it's important.
Okay. And why do you think, what do you think you join or you remain joined to the forces? Because
well, so not anymore. Yeah, I was medically released. I would love to have stayed, still would have. But I think it's an act of service, right? So my grandfather's a World War II veteran. I did 2 tours overseas as well. But one of the best things is, again, peacekeeping is amazing, right? Helping, going where you're needed and wanted, and making a difference. It's the Canadian way. We're the founding country of peacekeepers with Lester B. Pearson, our prime minister, that actually found that at the United Nations peacekeeping. So it's who we are. You're in Vancouver. I'm in just north of Toronto. So we're very multicultural. And so we're used to many different groups and beings. And I know this is what you're going to be asking, or I think so. You know, what makes up Canada? That's one of it. Is we're a people of immigrants. Unless you're part of our first people, which I'm proud to support.
What do you identify with multiculturalism in Canada? What do you think is? Do you feel part of it?
Yeah, I love it. Here's why I love it. As you mentioned, I've been to 52 countries, lived and worked in 12. We have the best food here in Canada. So I love that you are.
You still prefer being at home,
Argentina.
right?
Yes. I've got the best Greek, best Hakka Chinese, best sushi, best of everything, because everyone's so proud of bringing their cultures to Canada. But we still are Canadian. It's one of the best flags, one of the best passports, best place to live. That's why I live here with my family, and one of the best land of opportunity. So with multiculturalism, it is, unlike some countries, a melting pot. Ours is, you're proud of your past. So I always ask people, where's your heritage, right? Not necessarily where you're from. What's your heritage? What's your makeup? Because I find that fascinating. And I mean, it's great because people get to be proud of that. I love church groups or family groups, all that stuff, where we say, bring something from your culture. Right? I love food. You know, I love food. Food from all over, because people are so proud of that, right? And we all want something very similar, right? We always want health for our kids and family and everything.
What do you think that makes you Canadian? If we go deeper into the identity, because I am Argentinian, right? I'm Canadian, I'm Argentinian, and I say this before when I had an interview with an author before, and he mentioned that his politeness, his ethicals, and I also identify myself with the ethics and
Yeah.
kindness,
So,
because we
yeah.
have that as like, I have that, I bring that to Canada as an
Apologizing
Argentinian,
or politeness or apologizing or and again, I do identify it as peacekeeping. So on the world stage as being peacekeepers. Sorry, it's just my alarm. So just 1 second, you may want to pause it
that's
for a
okay.
sec. So we'll go back to the question of what do you identify as being Canadian? Well, for me, identifying being Canadian is peacekeeping. Identifying as Canadian is multiculturalism, where we are not just one group. I love how people are Canadian, Argentinian, Canadian, African,
Yeah.
Canadian, Chinese, and not, Chinese American or, whatever else, right? Or we kind of do that. You're Chinese Canadian, right? You're Argentinian. It's great. But what I think the biggest thing for us is,
what's your background?
well, sure. So mine is my heritage of my family is Scottish, Irish, and German. But it's about 4 generations back to 5 generations on either side. But for me, a lot of it is, our politeness, our being courteous, our being peacekeepers, our being accepting. I live in a very multicultural area, so we just love that. And I'm no longer the typical Canadian where I live.
So you feel you are integrated with the new Canadians?
Yeah, I don't have any couples of friends. I think I have 1 or 2 that both look like me, right?
Okay, born here.
Very multicultural, and I love that. I love different cultures, but I don't necessarily see that. We don't, right? And our kids stand out in their class because they are the minority now, and that's okay. But I don't like even the word minority, right? Visible minority. But we're in a very interesting times where that's acceptable. But my big thing of what's a Canadian, it's if you self-identify as a Canadian, right? I think we're going through a time of change. We're both in immigration, so I mean, we're only able to succeed through immigration. It's the only way we can grow in Canada. So that says a lot.
That's right. And let's go into the next question. What actions do you think the government is taking towards the protection of this Canadian identity? Strictly speaking, about whatever is imprinted in your identity from birth, because it's not the same. Even when we're multicultural, we are all the same.
Yeah, so I think
you have probably something that is a little
mine's
bit
a little different. Mine is more of the military background or service background, right? Or was born in Scarborough, Malvern, so a borough of Toronto. Then moved to Markham, and then, as you said, been to 52 countries, lived and worked in 12, so moved all over. But what's going to protect our Canadian side? It's changing a lot. We're almost too accepting of everyone. We're almost too nice that we can't really have good debates, right? And even I said to you on that side, let's just not get political. Let's not get into religious stuff, right? Because that's just the Canadian way, where some people are like, I am this, and you need to be like this. That's not our way, right? So we're just more passive. And why? It is kind of a mixed bag, as they say, or everyone thrown all in of, I don't think a lot of people have a true idea of what a Canadian identity is. So when you said this, I said, this is an interesting conversation to have. So I was willing to do it. I liked how you said, am I shy? I'm definitely not shy, but there's a difference when you're having these conversations. Like we've had numerous conversations with clients and all that. That's a safe place. But when it's open like this, you never know, because someone can take an excerpt or one thing. But I said, yeah, I'm willing to talk, because I think this is a good need. People need to have more conversations, right? What makes it Canadian? Why are we different? Mine is more of how are we the same? And again, that's one of the Canadian ways, right? Let's look at similarities, not how we're different. Now, are we all different? Yes, we're all unique. All unique is like a snowflake, right? All by our backgrounds, our nature versus nurture. But my different standpoint is I've been in a lot of crappy situations in the military, in business-wise, and all over the world, disasters. So the fact of how lucky we are in Canada and blessed, we have free healthcare, and my niece and my daughters have gone through hell in the health service. So if not, we'd be bankrupt, our family. Our education, best education in the world. The fact that we can live in peace.
And the training
But
culture. I'm not sure if I don't believe any of you aware of your training system. When I moved here and I had to start from zero, again, my resume, my experience in Canada, you had to have your Canadian experience for your resume. And what you see is that you are even trained to serve coffee. I haven't had that experience in my home country or in any other place that I didn't live in many other countries, but
they were trained to serve and to help.
You're trained for everything. You have a training for everything, and everything has the perfect way to do it in any area, even if you're in a retail or whatever.
Or a good way, right? Everyone has different ways of, perfect ways. But yes, I love how to, tap when I get my
best way to
how to serve tea, right? How to wait, how to stand up, how to open doors. That's how I've been. But I've even got in trouble by, why are you opening the door for me? I'm like, I'm doing it at a
really
or holding you to a higher standard, right? Like, yeah, I think that's important, right? But I think what makes
who would ask you, why do you open the door for me?
It doesn't matter. Just some lady probably having a bad day, right? But I mean, that's her issue, not necessarily mine. But it's not out of disrespect. It's actually out of respect, right?
Exactly.
And actually a higher level of respect. So.
So I have another question.
Yeah, sure.
How was working for the government? You were instructor for the Canadian government.
Yeah, so I was an instructor. Yeah, I liked it. It's tough sometimes. I mean, great pension in the end. A great room for advancement to travel over the world. I was also a junior ambassador for a little while, a junior diplomat. So I got to go travel, got to see. I did speak French, so that helped. I had to learn French. Lost some of it now.
That was, I had to learn French, you say?
Yeah, I had to.
I like the expression.
Yeah, I had to.
I had to.
I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. I wish I could still.
You may understand Spanish too, and Italian and anything else.
Yeah, my Spanish. It's interesting when I became.
We don't want you to speak Spanish.
No, I know you don't. You make fun of my Spanish. When I became fluent, conversational fluent in French, I lost my Spanish, as I told you. And it's been tough to get it back after that, because if you don't use it, like anything, playing sports, activities, if you don't use our brains, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So I'm right here in the nation's capital, in Ottawa. So literally Parliament Hill, I was just there, just having a meeting, and then just over the river is Quebec. So I lived and worked in Quebec for a number of years. Love the culture, love the people. And it is really a totally different culture and people, and I love it. Totally different.
Do you mean with this side? Like if you compare this side and the west?
Yeah, literally. Our provinces, or the equivalent of states, have different identities, different Canadian.
Like another country,
so,
yeah.
Not really, because a different country, that's what makes us Canadian. But yes, where United States is United States, where ours are. I love the Vancouver culture, but even Victoria is different than Vancouver.
Yeah, I know. I love Victoria.
Alberta is totally different. Saskatchewan's different. Manitoba, Ontario, but even the north, south, east, west is different. Montreal, I love that place. Quebec City. I mean, just so rich in culture, different foods, different people, but all just very warm hearts, right? So, and that's what I appreciate. I appreciate the differences, but also the sameness, that we're proud to be Canadian. We've never started a war. We've never lost a war. And we are big peacekeepers of helping each other. And I mean, not every country has that. That's why we're one of the #1 destinations to come to.
So to finish, we're going to be maybe wrapping up with the last question about, it's not about immigration, but this will be more to the people who is going to be listening or watching this video, new immigrants, future Canadians. And what would you recommend, or what would you say to somebody anyone who wants to enroll in the, let's say in the army, to work for the government in the future? How is all that? How was your experience? What would you recommend? What is the main or the key to be maybe successful in an application if you're enrolling in the government? If somebody in the future becomes a Canadian and is thinking about, I have many questions about the police area, not the army very much, but in the channel, in my YouTube channel, many people is coming to wonder what is the way to become a police in Canada. Many people from other countries who are police officers and they want to immigrate here. What do you need?
Sure. So let's break it down to maybe the military, the government, first responders. Okay. So for the military, as you noticed, there was a big announcement just came out that permanent residents can apply now too. The military, it's an amazing group because after 20 years, 25 years, you have full pension. No one else has that. No one else has
the benefits.
See the world. And ours is different. We don't start wars like other countries. We don't really get attacked, although we do, by cyber or different things. And we just have to be cautious with our big waters because we're the second largest country by land mass, right? But we're normally liked by most people. I hope we continue to have that. We have to be cautious of that. So that's what's needed. But in most military stances, you have to volunteer to go overseas, like I did. So it's not like we're going off to war.
So you're trained to be a peacekeeper, not to go.
And I volunteered to do it, and I'd do it again if I wasn't injured. On the government side, bilingualism is huge. It really helps to be advanced. A lot of them are paper tests, and to get into there as well.
And English.
Yeah, French or other languages as well.
I'm going to subtitle this in Spanish because many people think, oh, you go to Canada and you don't need the language.
No, even English you get by everywhere. But having French, especially for the government, is an asset. And again, a great pension, great plan of what you can actually do. For the first responders, one of the biggest things is for them is for service, right? So
what do you think you need as a human being to have to be enrolled and to be accepted? I mean, like discipline or any I don't know, characteristics of your personality, anything
service, service, a clean medical record, willing to serve, fitness. And one of the biggest things is, if you've got previous experience.
What was the most challenging for you when you were part of the Army?
I think a lot of it's the downtime. A lot of it's the downtime, right? What you do when you're bored and idle. So that's when things happen, right? So, and it's just the routine, right? Overseas, the routine was great, but back here, it can be very boring, right? Right. So that's why I always did courses. Always wanted to learn, do more.
And I think I asked you before this question about PNL, neuro-linguistic programming. Have you had training about that discipline in the Army?
So
very brief,
it's not called NLP there, but is there some? Yeah, there's some. I think with anything, there's some with jargons or how things are done. But no, is there anything called NLP that we do through it? Not necessarily, no. Is there things in how we do things? Yes, by training in everything, in our schooling system, right? Of how we wait for the bell and how things are done and that, right? So that's just normal, right?
So it's nothing to highlight.
No.
About the training, I mean, the way you deal with people. Do you apply any of the disciplines you learn?
You ask any military person, right? You give them a task, they know what to do. Say, tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I shouldn't do. I mean, you know that too. I'm like,
and you have a system to do everything in different.
I've got a system where I've seen a lot of things or different things. And so I'm like, great. Like this, you said, hey, do you want to go through the questions? No, just ask me the questions. If not, I'll say no. And if so, I'll say yes and expand on it, right? So, and some people too, like just this lunch and learn we did today here in our nation's capital. Here it is. Here's the information. Here's the support. Here's what we're doing. Right? We don't get worked up at that. Why? We've got a task, we've got a mission, we've got a plan, but things can change, right? So we're used to that. So we're used to having deadlines, we're used to having responsibilities, but we're used to reporting to a chain of command and instruction. We're used to working with teams. That's why I'm always a big fan of team sports, team people, because you can't do it yourself, right? That's why you said, hey Ryan, can you do this for me? Sure, happy to help out. you've helped me out with different things. And I think if more people helped out other people, we'd be
The
a better
world
off
would be
place.
better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just the country, but in general, the world.
Whole
Yes.
world, right?
Oh, that's very
Just
good.
interested in
Thank you very
treating each
much.
other, we want to be treated, right? It's all very basic. I think we make things complicated. So I try to simplify
That's good.
things because life is difficult enough, right? So as you've noticed that, I simplify things down to the basics.
So do you have any other comments, anything you want to say to my audience about, in general, about the future for anyone, not just people who wants to get involved in
Yeah,
your
so I think
occupation or
one of
anything
the biggest
related?
things is Canada's a great
Just new,
place. I
new
mean,
immigrants. What do
yeah,
you
but-
need to be a good addition to Canada?
No, but Canada's a great place. But even in the meantime, while you're waiting, do great wherever you are, right? Help your fellow person, and make the best and live in the now, right? It's one of the biggest things. I believe in community. I believe in helping each other, trying to make a difference. And if everyone did that, as we said, it'd be
What do you mean with living the now?
so so many people are worried about, hey, how I'm going to change the future, global warming and stuff. And those are all great topics. But my biggest thing is like, what can we do now and today? Right?
With
Tomorrow's
what you have.
right, biblically, or no matter what your religion is, right? It's like tomorrow's a handful of, right? So just
Do your best now.
work this, do your best, do what you say we're gonna do, right? And but my biggest thing is, and I know with you too, it's family, right? So my biggest thing is family, and that's where I'm just off to right now, is to go off to dinner with them and in Ottawa with my niece and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward.
How many kids do you have?
So I have 3 kids.
That's,
3 kids, and
that's a lot of work.
love it though. I wish we had more. So, but my wife, who had something to do with that, said no, so I lost. So yeah, there you go.
Well, you never know.
Yeah. So
Thank you very much, Brian, and I hope to see you soon. And thank you on behalf of all the people who is going to watch this video, and I wish you the best.
thank you. Thanks for what
Thank
you're
you.
doing of spreading the great words. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.